everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. And welcome to one of my favorite videos to make, where I'm going to talk about some anticipated releases that are coming up in the next 3 months. So I'm calling this one the fall anticipated releases, but you know, technically it goes into a little bit of winter, and then when we get to December, I'll do the winter and spring releases, and that's how that's going to go. So let's dive in. I have this kind of broken up by month and a couple caveats. Number one, some of these release dates have been changing. Like, I know the last time I did one, there was some books that had already changed what day they were going to be coming out by the time my video came out, because due to COVID, some authors like pushed their books off because they wouldn't be able to do a, book tour for it or things like that. But I feel like that has kind of changed, and especially since a lot of the books I'm going to be talking about, they are romance, they're ebooks, they are, audiobooks is their main form. So hopefully a lot of these won't change, but who knows. So let's go ahead and start with September. And this video is going to take a lot of editing for me, so don't mind. There's lots of pictures we have to put up. So here we go. The first one that I want to talk about quick is Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin. This is book 2 in the Serpent and Dove series. I don't know if this is just a duology, a trilogy, whatever. Haven't heard that. There's actually been a lot of talk in my Discord lately about some people who are going to read Serpent and Dove. It is a fantasy romance. It borders on kind of like new adult. It's still classified as YA, but think kind of like Sarah J. Maas. Sarah J. Maas actually like blurbs this book. She really, really loves it. I'm so excited for Blood and Honey to come out because Serpent and Dove was a lot of tropes that I really like. It was an enemies to lovers. It was a forced marriage. It was a slow burn romance. It was also really sexy. It had witchcraft and witch hunters. It actually had some like evil witches and good witches. It had a religious organization that is trying to take down witches, and this girl is a witch, and the leader of that organization wants to keep an eye on her, even though they don't have full proof who she is. So he marries her off to one of his top men, who in general they try to stay single and celibate, but if one of them were to have like more temptation towards the sinful life, then they find them a wife so that they're not sinning, which can make a lot of us roll our eyes. But I also think that it is, and in that respect anyway, that's a really interesting way that this group looks at it, is instead of just like hating on that man because they have lustful desires, they're like, well, how about we find a wife for you then, so that, however, he gets paired with a witch and he's supposed to watch this woman, and if she shows any proclivities towards witchcraft, he's supposed to pounce on her. Why am I doing that? I'm not going to be going into detail about every single one of these because I have, about 25 of these to talk about, but I just wanted to give a little more info on Serpent and Dove because some of you had been asking about it. And the cliffhanger of Blood and Honey, it's not even so much a cliffhanger. It was like, there was kind of a resolution to part of it, and it was a set up for more. And I just really liked where, especially the character Reed, where he ended at is just so different of where he started. And I really, really like seeing that kind of growth, especially in a male character, because I feel like a lot of the times when you see that character, that is like all that you get. And so I really liked how he changed. Next, I want to talk about, mention that To Sleep in a Sea of Stars comes out. This is Christopher Paolini's sci-fi novel. It is, I guess, like almost 1,000 pages long. I don't know how quickly I will get to this book. I am not always in a sci-fi mood, and Christopher Paolini, though, he's been working on this book for a really long time, and obviously Aragon is one of my formative fantasy series for me, so I definitely want to give it a try. I just don't know when. That might be a book that I pick up on Audible, just because that might be easier for me to focus on it. Well Played by Jenn. This is book 2 in the Well Met. It's like a medieval times, I think is what they're calling it, but it's a Renaissance fair. The first one was a hate to love, more like a misunderstanding kind of thing, but it's this Renaissance festival that this small town puts on. And this one I think is supposed to be kind of like an unrequited or like friends to lovers one. And though Well Met wasn't quite enough for me, because this is like a I would consider this sits in like the women's fiction, right? So it's not as steamy as I would like. I did think it was pretty funny and kind of cute. So I'm interested enough in the characters that will be in Well Played that I want to give it a try. Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey. This will be the third and I think the final book in the Hot and Hammered series. I don't know. There's a plane going over. I don't know if she'll continue that after this one, but this is one that I've really been looking up to. This is going to be a hate to love. This is, I guess these two end up having to like work together in a like building competition of some kind. Not 100%. I got denied for the advanced reader copy of this one, which I'm really sad about. I think it's funny because this series definitely became more popular as it went, because back when I only had like 10 reviews done on my NetGalley, I got approved for the first one, Fixer Up. So I got to read Fixer Up like before anybody else did, but then when this one comes around, I like don't have big enough clout to get to read it, so that made me sad. But that's okay, I have plenty other books to read ahead of time, and I'm still gonna read this because this series is super steamy, super sexy, but it's still being released like main title, and I love that. Tessa Bailey, I really like her writing style, and I love her characters because they still manage to like hit me. And this one, I know one of the characters, he's not a dad, he's like an uncle though who's taking care of his niece. I think that's what it is. And then the other character is like part of the friend group where they have like this, like, it's not an anti-guy party, but it's like the girls get together to talk about their problems with their guys, basically, one of those. Sea Witch by Katie Robert. I have already read this one. I also, because I'm part of her Patreon, I get all of her books. I get a signed copy of all of her books. And I get to read the advanced copies of all of them. So I've already read Sea Witch. This is a female-male menage, or female-male-female, but everybody's all together. It is obviously a retelling of Ursula, Eric, and Ariel, and so it's like, I think it's Ulrich, Zuriel, and Ursa. And of course it starts off in Hades' BDSM club, and it is a virginity auction, and it's amazing. It's so good. If you haven't read the Wicked Villain series yet, I don't know what you're doing. Well, maybe it's not your cup of tea, but they're all BDSM, they're all dark and twisty, and they're all delicious. So you definitely should try them out. You should try any Katie Robert out. Just do it. Beauty Tempts the Beast by Lorraine Heath. This is the 6th book in the can't remember the series title, but I've actually only read the first one in the series, but I own the whole series, and this one is the prettiest, and it's Beauty and the Beast retelling, and so I want it. I am slowly collecting like all the Lorraine Heath. I've read 5 of her books total, I think. I definitely want to go on a binge and read more of hers because her stories are so out there. Like, she just goes for it. She shoots for the moon. She holds nothing back. She's an amazing writer, and I just think that she's so unique in how she tells her stories, and I love that. The Savior's Sister by Jenna Moreci. I have an arc for this. I need to get through it. I loved The Savior's Champion. I read that when it had like first come out. Jenna Moreci is a self-pub author as well as a AuthorTube, and she does great writing advice videos. She's super funny. She calls her followers like her cyborg army, and she's so good. So when I got asked to do an arc for it, I really want to do it. It's a dark fantasy romance, but the thing with this one is it's a retelling of the first one from the point of view of the heroine, and that's sometimes hard to do because you already know what's happening. But I've read the first 3 chapters and it's already like so different seeing the things that this character is going through. So I want to get to it. And I need to get to it soon because it's only a month until it comes out. So I'm trying to wrap up the rest of my reads for the summer fling, and then I want to spend some time reading arcs because I have a few that I need to get through before they come out. Allscott and Bothered by Kerrigan Byrne. This is going to be number 2 in her like new series that she has, and I haven't read the first one yet, but I know that I'm going to love it, and Kerrigan Byrne has become one of my favorite authors like almost instantly when I read the Victorian Rebel series. So I really want to read that, and then I want to read How to Love a Duke in 10 Days, and then Allscott and Bothered is the next one in that series. It just looks beautiful. This looks like the perfect novel to read for fall. All of her books are kind of, they're Highland books to a certain degree, and they're so much fun. Like, her books are dark and twisty, and just, they make me happy. And then Lies and Lullabies by Serena Bowen. So this is going to be a new series. It's called like the Hush series or something, and it's going to be a rock star romance series. So I've read almost all of Serena Bowen's books. She does like college and sports romances, and so this is going to be like a new series by her, and I am very excited to try it. Yeah, I was just looking it up while I was making my list, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to read this. It's going to be a secret or surprise baby trope, which is I do consider this a guilty pleasure. I don't usually call things like guilty anymore because I just read what I want. But like secret baby trope is either my most loved or most hated trope. Like it really, like it's all about how an author does it for me, because I'm a sucker for babies and men holding babies. So it gets me really excited to read a secret baby or surprise baby. But I very rarely like the surprise baby shows up later. I'm more of a like surprise pregnancy where maybe we were a one night stand and we got pregnant, or maybe just whatever. I'm more like that. So I don't know what this one is going to be, but I'm still going to try it because it's Serena Bowen, and I'm going to trust her that it's going to be good. So now we're going to go into October reads. All right. Each month there's like less and less you'll have, just because there's some books that aren't even announced yet. So just keep that in mind too, of like, those were all September reads. They're all ones that I'm interested in. Of course, there's other books still coming out. I don't read as much YA anymore, so that's why you don't see as many of those on my list. But let's keep going. So Crazy Stupid Romance by Lyssa Kay Adams. That one will come out. I actually don't even know which character in the series this one's going to be about. I've only read the first book in the series, but I loved it so much that I'm trusting I will continue to like them. So that one comes out in October. The Duke Effect by Sophie Jordan. This will be the 7th book in what's it called? The Rebel Dukes? The Rogue Files. The Rogue Files. This will be book 7, and it's about the youngest sister who is the one who accidentally drugged her sister in the Virgin and the Rogue. So I'm very excited to read this one. I got denied for reading this one too. I need to work on like upping how my NetGalley looks to people. I'm just not great at that, because I read enough regular books that I don't always want arcs, but when I want an arc, I want it really bad, and it's hard for me. Then, okay, this one will surprise people because this series doesn't have a lot of romance in it at all, but it is, the main character is one of my favorite heroines of this year. The book, this is the sequel to How Rory Thorne Destroyed the Multiverse, and the sequel is called How the Multiverse Got Its Revenge. This is by Kay Easton. The first book, it was a Sleeping Beauty retelling, and it is set in space. It's set in the future, but the way that it's set in the future is that Aurora, the original Sleeping Beauty, was a real person, and so the hero who saved her, his name was Rory Thorne, and so every generation after, they called the son that was born Rory Thorne, and then finally they have a daughter, and they still name her Rory because a girl can be named Rory, and she ends up needing to help her planet by an arranged marriage. But the prince that she's arranged to marry, he's disappeared, and she doesn't know, like, she's trying to figure out what happened. So that's the setup for the first one. And then this one obviously is going off of what happened next. So most of the people who tried this that I suggested, they've all loved it. There is romance. It's just really subtle. There's no like sex in it, so it's not something I usually suggest anymore. But I have been known to read where there's no banging. I just prefer that to be a main part of it. But yeah, I really, really love that book, so you should check it out. Then My Last Duchess by Eloisa James. This is going to be a prequel to The Wilds of Windlow Castle, and it's going to be about the parents. And I'm not usually one for prequels, but this is going to be a full book, and it's going to be their romance. And the reason why I'm so happy this is being written, so if you've read any of the books in that series, you'll know that it's a mixed family. There was a duke, he already had a wife, but his wife left him and ran away with someone who was poor and left their children. So then he ended up marrying a woman she was a widow and had her own children, and then they got married and had more children. So there's a family of it's a mixed family. It's like the Brady Bunch. It's like yours, mine, and ours. There is a ton of kids, and so we've read about 5 of them, and now this one's going to be the prequel about how these two got together and bringing all their families together. And I'm so excited about it because I already love this mom and dad, and I really want to read their love story. And in the case of like these parents are still alive, so that's the thing. Like the Bridgertons, there's a prequel that's about those parents, but we know that the dad died when one of his kids wasn't even born yet. So reading about Edmund and Violet is really bittersweet because no matter how happy they are, that he's tragically going to die from a bee sting when she's pregnant with one of their kids. And then the same there's a trilogy I really love by Lorraine Heath, where we learn, like, there's a prequel novel about the father, but the father is literally mad the whole time because his wife died giving birth to his son. So they only had a few years together. So it's like reading those novellas is very hard because that it doesn't end happily. You can only have a happily for now, and it's not even a very long now. So the thing that I'm excited about my Last Duchess is I know that, number one, it's going to be a full-size book, and number two, this couple is still together and happy, and that makes me really excited to read about it. So anyway, then the last read for October I have is The Door of Bruises by Sierra Simone. This is going to wrap up the Thornchapel series. This series is bananagrams, and it's really funny to me too because when I read the first one, which I think it's the one with the girl, I can't remember what it's called, but it has Poe on the front with like like thorns, something with thorns. A Lesson in Thorns, that's what it is. I hadn't read anything with either like incest or polyamory or I hadn't read anything with that in it. And so the first time I read that book, it was like way too much for me. And since then, I'm not that innocent little chick 2 years later on. And I really loved her third book, Harvest of Sighs, so much. So The Door of Bruises is going to wrap it all up, and I'm very intrigued to see how it happens because each of these books has had a pretty intense cliffhanger. It's been crazy. All right, let's go on to November. For November, I have Queen Takes Rose by Katie Robert. All right, this is going to be the final book in the Wicked Villain series. So I haven't read the arc for this one yet, but I know that I will get it soon because she's almost done with edits for that book. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm always nervous about how I'm gonna like the villain. And this one is a sapphic romance. This is a female. This is Aurora and Maleficent. I'm so excited about it. I've been getting to read her clips she's posted already, and I'm so into it. And I recently was doing like a reread of some of the earlier books, and like seeing Aurora in those, I love her. So I'm very excited, and I'm excited to see Monroe kind of get her happy ending, because we've seen her in other books too, where she's like helped in different scenes or things like that. So White Mask by Kate Avery Ellison. This is another one this is a more YA fantasy. There is a romance and it's very good. It was a slow burn through the first 2 books, but her books are very short. They're not quite novella status, but they're between 200 and 250 pages. The first one is called Red Rider. It's a Red Riding Hood retelling. It has some Handmaid's Tale elements to it. It's also werewolves are included, and werewolves have kind of taken over, but they need human women who possess the right like genes to procreate with, because they can't procreate themselves. And yeah, it is a hate to love. It is also a second chance romance, and it is dark and beautiful, and I love it. And this series I think is gonna have 5 or 6 books in it, and they each have a cliffhanger, but they're so good that I don't even care. Wild Like Us by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This will be book 8 in the Like Us series. This is going to start Sully's romance, it is going to be polyamory. It's not going to be a menage in the case of there's no sword crossing. It legit is going to be polyamory with Sully at the center, and it's two of the bodyguards who are friends are going to enter a relationship with her, and I'm very excited to see how that goes. It was announced when Charming Like Us came out that the series is actually going to be 13 books at least, and I'm in for it. I'm here for it all. The other characters who were announced, I'm so excited about them. I just love their writing. I love this family. I never want to leave them, so I'm totally fine with them just continuing forever. Like, just do it. And then the last November one I have to talk about is The Raquel of Roth by Emily Howard. I just read The Beast of Bestwick this month, and I was really excited to see that there was going to be more in that series. I didn't know it was supposed to be a series until this couple is actually set up in The Beast of Bestwick, because I'm not going to tell you what's going on. But basically when we get to this book, it's going to be a marriage in trouble. So that's all I'll say about it. And it's about the main character of the first one. It's her younger sister, Isabel, who the whole first book, Isabel is who she's trying to protect, and like why she ends up marrying the Beast of Bestwick is to protect her younger sister. And so it's gonna be good. And then for December, I just have one book to mention because the other, like, there hasn't been any other announced that I'm super pumped for yet. And that's Deadly Dreams by KJ Sutton. This is going to be the third book in the Fortuna Sworn series. I am deliriously excited for this. KJ Sutton, I think, is like almost done writing it. I was able to read arcs for the first two books, so I'm really, really hoping I get asked to read an arc for Deadly Dreams. If not, I'm going to stalk her, because I feel like so many of my friends read that book because I was obsessed with Fortuna Sworn, and this series is going to have 6 books in it, and my gosh, am I happy that she's a self-published author, because I just want them all right now. And even so, it's still going to take another year before they're all out, but it could be worse. Like, it could be one a year. So praise the Lord for self-published authors. And then there's one other book I want to mention that there's no like sure date for it yet, but I thought she said she would try to get it out this year, and that is Sacrifice by Katie Robert. She got inspired by some vampire anime, and she's going to do a vampire trilogy that is polyamorous and menage, and so it's 3 males, 1 female, and it's a race to get her pregnant. So there's 3 vampires going after her. And yeah, the first one's called Sacrifice. Look at this cover. It is unbelievably gorgeous. So yeah, that's what we got. No date for that, but I know she's going to try to get it out this year, I think. So there you go. Those are all the books that I know about currently that I'm excited for in the next 3 months to come out. Let me know which ones you're most excited for. I cannot wait. I love new books coming out, even though my TBR I already have is never ending. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching this. I put up new videos 3 to 4 times a week, and you can watch some more of them right now. Bye-bye.